The full squad for the Nationals reported today, and baseball is officially back for the Washington Nationals. So let's get into this. Mike Rizzo said that on paper, this team is better than 2024. What do you think?
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, check us out over on Twitter. While you're at it, search up Locked On Nationals on YouTube and hit that subscriber button. And of course, wherever you get your pods as well. Again, Locked On Nationals. That is where you'll find us every single day here. Later on in today's program, the Nationals' top pitching prospect will be out until May after having a minor hip surgery. We'll discuss that and who that is a little bit later on in the show. And also, Mike Rizzo a few days ago said that the Nats will not go with a six-man rotation to enter 2025. I'm here to tell you why I don't think they will go with that on opening day, but it will come a lot closer to opening day than what you may think. So I'll get into that discussion a little later on. But do the Nationals have a better team on paper than what they do in 2024? We can get into that. And Mike Rizzo believes in it. A few days ago, he was on record stating that the Nationals will be a much better team. I do think the Nationals are a better team than what they were this past season. Here's what I don't think, though. Last year, the Nationals, I think they were a little bit better on paper sitting here today. And I think a lot of people may agree with that. Like, looking at the 2024 Washington Nationals, they had some names on them and guys who are not really here any much longer. You've got Lane Thomas out the door, who was nearly an all-star in 2023. You also have Jesse Winker, who, in my opinion, I thought he was going to be a really good asset for the Nationals this past season, and he was. And you also had some decent depth in there as well. But now with what the Nationals are, like, yes, I do think we will be a better team in 2025. They better be, if we're just being honest. But also, there are a lot of unknowns at this point in time compared to this time of last year. This time of last year, I thought the Nationals bullpen was pretty solid. And they weren't great, but they also weren't bad by any stretch of the imagination. This bullpen right now, sitting here today, is pretty unknown. They could be a top 10 bullpen, and I would say that's a little surprising, but okay. No, they could also be the worst bullpen in all of baseball, and I would say that's believable at this point. There are so much unknowns about the Nationals standing right here today that I think this time last year, I knew what Lane Thomas was going to be. I knew that Lane Thomas would not be able to hit right-handed pitching and would kill it against left-handers. I knew that Jesse Winker, coming into camp in better shape, would probably be a pretty solid asset for this organization. I knew that CJ Abrams and felt confident in him carrying over that hot second half in 2023 into the 2024 season. I knew that James Wood was going to come up and hopefully make an impact. Now, we still have James Wood here, but also, considering all the things that we have just mentioned, you have Dylan Cruz, who looked okay in the first month or so in his big league career. James Wood looked really good. He's probably going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate and might be even the favorite in the National League. And they also have Dylan Cruz again. And the Nationals have even more prospects to come. That is all good. Like, these are all good things. These are all things that we have been waiting for today. But also with these prospects coming up, there are just more unknowns that we don't know. We like to think that we know that James Wood is going to be a future All-Star. We like to think that we know that Dylan Cruz is going to be a five-tool kind of player for the next decade plus. But we really don't know that for 100% at this point in time. And so, yes, while I do think the Nationals definitely have a higher ceiling in 2025, I'm not ready to say that this team on paper is better than what it was going into this past season. You got rid of Patrick Corbin, which good, but also with that, you lost a couple other relievers in this scenario where you don't have Dylan Floro anymore. You don't have Jacob Barnes. While he's not the best out there, but still, you don't have Robert Garcia. And you don't have Kyle Finnegan or Hunter Harvey. These are all things that when we were going into this past season last year, those were all pretty knowns of what we thought they could be. Now, with this team today, they do have a higher ceiling, and that is more exciting. That's what gets us up, and that's what gets me excited to do this podcast every single day, because I know that the Nationals do have a slight chance at making the playoffs compared to this past season where I didn't really believe in them. I did not believe that there would even be a chance for them to make the playoffs. They were better than what I even expected that past season. But I think the concerning part of 2025, if there was one, is the fact that we just don't know. And prospects, you can get caught up in the prospect rankings. You can say James Wood and Dylan Cruz were both number one prospects in baseball, and you're right. They're very good. But we don't know if they are ready to take those steps up this season. It sometimes takes a while. And we've seen it now from a lot of top prospects here, in which we are relying on in 2025. The trend as of late, these past few seasons, is that young prospects, they're going to take a while. The days of Bryce Harper just coming up and dominating seem to be out the door. And Juan Soto as well, two guys that we have seen right here in DC make a big impact as soon as they touch the diamond. That's out the door at this point. So yes, I do think the Nationals could be a better team on paper, but there's also a lot of unknowns that make me a little unsure of that scenario here. But with that said, the full squad has reported today. And also, the Nationals, speaking of bullpens, we had a lot of bullpen talk there. They have signed someone that I think is a really interesting sign. Lucas Sims, relief pitcher, a former first-round pick, played for the Atlanta Braves, pitched for the Cincinnati Reds for nearly 5 seasons, got traded to the Red Sox this past season, and the Nationals have signed him to, I believe, that might be a major league deal. We're still looking for the details as of right now, but this is a good signing. The Nationals, I do want to get into this real quick just for the next few minutes. They know what they need. And Mike Rizzo and both Davey Martinez, they have said that they are going to attack some bullpen and back end of the bullpen help. Now, I've seen some people float around the idea that Lucas Sims could be the closer for the Nationals moving forward. I'm not going to go there just yet. But with that in mind, I do think Lucas Sims is a really good sign for this team. Getting into it here, he has only had 4 saves over the last 2 seasons. And also, he had 13 saves back in 2021 when he was relatively decent for the Cincinnati Reds, but wasn't all that pretty. And going into this past season, he probably had one of his best years out of the bullpen in 2024, got traded to the Red Sox, and then he just completely blew up. Had a 6.43 ERA in 15 appearances, only 14 innings pitched, and in that time frame, walked 10 batters, only struck out 9, and was just not good. Had a 1.5 whip with the Red Sox this past season, and overall a 1.439 whip in 2024. I do like this signing, though, and I saw this yesterday. Lucas Sims, through his career high as far as fastball mile per hours go, just a few days ago, was touching 98 miles per hour. So there are some reports that he has a revamped fastball. And also, I've seen a lot of people discuss Lucas Sims as he might have some of the best stuff in all of baseball. The thing with him is command. It's a lot of that kind of thing. Like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a young Tanner Rainey, when it's like you saw him coming in 2019 and you're like, this guy could be really good. If you just were to find the zone and find some command, this guy could be a closer in baseball. But he's got to find command, And also, he's got to figure out his stuff. But here's the good thing about Lucas Sims that I think kind of generates the possibility for him to be a closer someday. He's got a great sweeper, something that a lot of people have raved about over the years. He also has a new revamped cutter that I have not seen myself, but I have seen a lot of people talk about it this offseason, including the people that he has been working out with on Twitter. But this is an interesting sign. Like, again, day one of spring training, the full squad is there to report. I have yet to see the details of the deal, but I'm assuming it's going to be a one-year deal, maybe a major league deal, maybe a minor league deal. Either way, I think this guy is going to be an impactful reliever at some point this season for the Nationals. Will he be a closer? If he is, that's great. At this point, it's Jose Ferrer for me. But we'll see what the Nationals decide to do with Sims, but it's an interesting signing nonetheless. So we'll talk about him more and more as spring training goes on. But now, speaking of pitching, Mike Rizzo said that the Nationals will not go to a 6-man rotation to begin 2025, but I'm going to tell you why. That I think you're going to see a 6-man rotation a little bit sooner than what you may think, because got a lot of talent at pitcher and not a lot of ways to move either. We'll discuss that after we tell you about our friends over at SelectQuote. And in sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. And the same goes for life. Having a strategy that, like life insurance from SelectQuote, can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, they're licensed against tailored coverage to fit your unique needs. And if you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage for up to $5 million. No medical exam required, and it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/locked-on. Go to SelectQuote.com/locked-on today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/locked-on. SelectQuote, they shop, you save. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So Mike Rizzo met with the media just a handful of days ago over this past weekend, and Mike Rizzo said, and he was pretty hard on this, said the Nationals will not use a 6-man rotation. We have talked about this a lot this offseason, especially over the last month or so. But looking here today, the Nationals have 7 legit possibilities on their roster: Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, Trevor Williams, and Michael Soroka. Those are my 4 locks at this point in time on the opening day. And then you have 3 guys, 3 lefties: DJ Hers, Mitchell Parker, and Ogasawara, the new lefty from Japan. The Nationals at some point, they will have to go to a 6-man rotation. Undoubtedly, in my opinion. They have to. Like, this is not one of those things where you are just going to go out there and leave Mitchell Parker or DJ Hers down in the minor leagues just because you don't have space. You have to figure that out at this point in time. And if it were up to me, I think Ogasawara is probably going to start off in the bullpen, even though the Nationals have discussed like a 5-day plan for him and really kind of getting into that feel for being a starting pitcher in the major leagues. They have really gone in on that, and Davey Martinez has discussed what it is like to be, pitching every 5 days compared to once every week in Japan. And that is a real issue, because I saw where this guy runs like a 5K and a 7K and like a 10K for the 3 days after. And that's just not sustainable for a starting pitcher where you have to pitch every 5 days. That won't happen. But that kind of tips their hat for what they want to do. So with that in mind, then, let's say Ogasawara is going to be your Nationals 5th starter. That leaves DJ Hurst and Mitchell Parker down in the minors to begin the season, or one of them in the back end of the bullpen. That is a really tough scenario and a really tough pill to swallow, in my opinion. You should 100%, without a doubt, have DJ Hurst in your opening day rotation. And also, Mitchell Parker even deserves it. He was good this past season. Before we get into anything deeper with this is a great problem to have. Like, if you were to tell me, Ryan, pick a problem for the Nationals that you would want to have, it is exactly this. You had too many cooks in the kitchen here. You're going to have to figure out to get one of them out the door and one of them down in AAA. We don't know who that's going to be. But I'm here to tell you that the Nationals should go to a 6-man rotation, hopefully sometime soon. Do I think it will happen? Likely not at this point, but here's my case. Mackenzie Gore, lock, throw it away. Jake Irvin and Trevor Williams, those three are going to be on the opening day lineup. No problem. Then you've got Michael Soroka, who the Nationals said that he will start, and David Martinez reiterated that point and said that he will start also. So that's going to be 4. And then you got DJ Hurst. He is someone that you have to have. You have to have in this rotation. He showed way too much this past season to put this guy down in AAA and have him ramp up again. It's just out of our control, obviously, but this is someone who should be in the majors. And if he does start down in AAA, there is a big issue here for me, at least. Then you also have Mitchell Parker, who should be the 6th starter if there was 6. And then that leaves us with Ogasawara. He's probably likely going to be the one starting out of the bullpen. And I think that should be the case, by the way. Like, this is someone who has proven that he can be a starter over in Japan and has had really good stuff and really good numbers. And you saw him throw live BP for the first time the other day against Josh Bell. And I saw the video of that. I believe Mark Zuckerman of MASNsports.com tweeted that out. And you can go check that out again at Mark Zuckerman over on Twitter. And Ogasawara looked really good. Has kind of like those funky left-handed reliever kind of stretch. I think Ogasawara, it could be good. Is he going to be a starter or a bullpen guy? I don't really know at this point. I have to see some exit velos and whatever else comes our way as far as Ogasawara goes. But getting back into it, the Nationals should 1,000% go to a 6-man rotation, and hopefully it should be relatively more soon than what we think it is. Like, don't wait until the roster expands in September. You've got 6 quality guys. And also, I may add, you really have 7, and then you're going to have 8 with Cade Cavalli, and then 9 with Josiah Gray, whenever those 2 are going to be healthy and up in the bigs. So you've got to move on from someone eventually, whether it's via trade. We don't know at this point. But with where the Nationals stand today, I think a 6-man rotation, whichever 6 that you want to go with, is inevitable. And also, with all the injuries, it just simply makes sense for why the Nationals should do this. Mackenzie Gore, who has had arm injuries in the past. Jake Irvin has had Tommy John. Michael Soroka has had Achilles injuries in years past. And then after that, Josiah Gray coming off Tommy John. Cade Cavalli coming off Tommy John. Like, there are a lot of injury history amongst these 9 solid starting pitchers. You're going to have to stretch it out and go to 6 eventually, especially if you want to save some innings for guys like DJ Hurst and Mitchell Parker, the younger guys on this lineup sitting here today. So that's my case for the Nationals going to a 6-man rotation, not an opening day, but eventually. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. One of the Nationals' top prospects in the organization will be shut down until at least May. I'll give you who that is after this. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out again. Search Locked On Nationals and hit that subscriber button. Travis Sykora, one of the top prospects in this organization, and he will be the top prospect in this organization, and in my opinion, a top 10 pitching prospect in all of baseball, has a hip injury. And he had a minor hip surgery, according to Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez, and he will not be with the Nationals, will not be pitching in spring training, rather, and will not start pitching in minor league games until May. Not the end of the world, but it is like slightly concerning because, again, we were talking about this the other day. As far as injuries go with baseball, let's draw two strings here. Baseball, they're relatively consistent about injuries. Like, they will let you know what it is. But then on the flip side of it, you never really know either. Because like Steven Strasburg, that was totally unknown. For someone who is a star like him, a World Series MVP, a huge contract, and we never really knew what was going on. Cade Cavalli this past season, we heard he had the flu. You heard he had dead arm. We still don't really know what really happened to him this past season. There are some gray areas with injuries, and I'm not going to say that Travis Sykora is going to go through one of these things where he's not going to pitch until like August or September, whatever the case may be. But to hear it's a hip injury and that he had a minor surgery on it, I think my gut feel is that he is going to be perfectly fine down the line, but it still makes me a little weary about what's going on here. And it's something that sucks because he was going to be showcased in a lot of different prospect games. I was going to be going down to West Palm Beach. He was going to be one of the guys that I would have been talking to, one of the guys that I would have been seeing in person. And it would have been the first time I've been able to lay my eyes on him in person. And that's a bummer that we do not get to see that because the Nationals, they've got a lot of spring prospect showcase games this spring training, and Sykora and Harleen Susanna, they would have been a part of those. And now one of that trio is not going to be there. So it sucks to see Travis Sykora go down with injury here, but I'm glad to say that at least there's